One of hip-hop radio pioneers digs in the crate to present you some classic hip-hop. The Basement with Mike Allen.
Listen. I'm Mike Allen. This is 1Xtra. DJ Scott the Rock and KRS-One on South Bronx. And JVC Force, Strong Island, Long Island. So this weekend, it's about 1Xtra's Hip Hop Weekend and a look back to the days. There's a lot more I'm going to be telling you about later on. But really, look on this next 2 hours as my side of the story. I'm going to play you some music now from the guy who promised me, hand on heart, that he only writes his rhymes at 3 o'clock in the morning because God's got more time to be with him. His name is Doug E. Fresh. Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh crew, the show. Funny, Inspector Gadget, it all worked. It worked on so many levels. The audio dynamic of hip-hop in the mid-80s included clever cartoonish characters such as the show from Dougie. They were funny, well-observed, they were ear-friendly. And it just moved across the other side of the tracks to social commentary from Run DMC, and it's like that, and that's the way it is. A blunt, social observation. It was the most dynamic music form of the moment. And nothing appeared to be challenging that situation. This music was a direct reflection of Western society. It was almost like the evening news with beats and rhymes. It's The Basement. I'm Mike Allen, and it's real hip-hop, my man.
One of hip-hop radio pioneers digs in the crate to present you some classic hip-hop. The Basement with Mike Allen.
Down in the basement on the 1Xtra Hip-Hop Weekend, I'm Mike Allen, and we just heard a track from Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Genius Rap. You might recognize that if you've been listening to the radio and caught a recent track from Mariah Carey. Yeah, we weren't the only ones doing the plundering. It's happening back to us. In that film Electro Rock, which you might remember, it featured Africa Bambaataa and a cast of b-boy breakdancers and Max and Dave from the hard rock soul movement. Everyone on the project was heavily committed, and apart from my flowery shirt, it was well received. I never got a copy of the film, but I did get a copy of this. This is Africa Bambaataa.
The Basement.
I'm Mike Allen, and you're probably thinking to yourself, I've heard of him, sort of. Well, in Fridays and Saturdays in 1984, somebody gave me the chance to open up a new music show, and I was looking around thinking, what can I play? What can I play that's different? What can I play that somebody else hasn't played 10 minutes back? And I don't want to be bored, and I started picking up hip-hop. I started listening to some of the earlier stuff, which wasn't quite for me. I needed something that was a little bit more spiky. And I started putting it together in a way that resembled painting, because the sounds seemed to appeal to me as colours, and I could put them together and then overlaid with the little cartoon-esque pieces we spoke about earlier on, and it just gave it a rich colour. I just enjoyed it, and it made me laugh when I was working. It's the only time I've laughed when I got paid. Mind you, they didn't pay a lot. On the Friday night, we had the Frontline chart, I think it was, and on Saturdays we had the phone chart. All this was going on, and it gave me a direct insight as to what you wanted to listen to. Schoolie D. That guy sounds dangerous, doesn't he? Schoolie D, Saturday night. You know, it's 11 o'clock, and the streets are slick with rain. And he's driving in a long black limousine. And maybe he's sitting in the back, and he's got the window open a little bit, and you can just hear those beats just coming out. And he's on his way to what? Some sort of throwdown? But it's just got atmosphere dripping off of it. It's a social commentary. I love it. You're locked into The Basement on the 1Xtra Hip Hop Weekend. I'm Mike Allen, and coming up, even more bedrock tracks from the 80s. Just talk about that.
The Basement with Mike Allen. One of hip-hop radio pioneers digs in the crate to present you some classic hip-hop. The Basement with Mike Allen.
I was just polishing up my record box one day, and TDK, the tape makers, got in touch, and they said, do I want to meet an outstanding graffiti artist? I knew there was more to it, but I just said yes, and I went along to see this guy working on the approach to Vauxhall Bridge. He was on the south side. His name was T-Kid. He came on the program, and he told me about his career in art, and according to his story, he never purchased an aerosol can. Soon after his visit, TDK discovered the other reason for getting in touch. Their tape buyers were using that tape to record my shows, and in a few weeks, TDK was my sponsor, not of the London shows, because they were exclusive to Capital Radio, but a network of stations around the UK. We called that show National Fresh. If you listened to that, you'd have heard Globe and WizKid. Play that beat. The Basement, 1Xtra Hip Hop Weekend. I'm Mike Allen, and that's Globe and WizKid. Play that beat. Talking about TDK, we were sitting down thinking how we could make something interesting for everyone to get involved in. And we came up with a national graffiti competition. And regional winners were given a day and a professional poster site to complete a piece. And we helped them out with the aerosols. This included a trip on my part to a local station that played out National Fresh. It was interesting to meet so many familiar names and voices, people I'd only heard on the phone or on the radio. And according to the Edinburgh station that played out National Fresh, they'd experienced an audience increase in excess of 435% in the time zone they played the programme. One day we were near Bedford. It was about 4:30 or something. It was really, really cold in the winter. And we got out of the car and went to get some coffee. And there was a small voice that said, "Are you Mike Allen?" And I said, "Yeah." And I looked round and it was a really small boy. And he said, "You don't look like a hip-hop DJ."
The One Extra Hip-Hop Weekend. A whole weekend of real hip-hop.
It's the One Extra Hip-Hop Weekend. I'm Mike Allen. That was Salt and Pepper, and they grew from being a two-girl outfit to a three-girl outfit. And in doing that, they became the first all-girl rap group in hip-hop. Fascinating? Well, we're looking back over the 80s, from 84 to 88. If you missed the names of any of the tracks I played so far, you can go online to bbc.co.uk/1extra and have a look at the full track list after the show. Here's Mantronics. You will scream.
The Basement with Mike Allen.
Mantronics and Scream. I first met Mantronics in New York in late 85. He was very much immersed in his music, fanatical in attaining a state of perfection. Getting an interview with this guy was an interruption for him, and I got to speak to him for an hour. Now, whilst I was talking to him, I broke the golden rule. I took the headphones off, and I was waving the microphone about. It's my question, it's his answer. I'm moving this microphone about. I hope you can see it. And when I got back to the station to edit the piece and load up some music for it, I discovered a series of crackles across the tape, and it was traceable to the lead on the microphone. Oh, it nearly ruined it. Well, it had ruined it. So I turned to a trusty engineer and I said, "Could you edit out the crackles for me?" So he said, "Sure, I'd be delighted." How much would I pay him? I wasn't totally displeased when his red sports car was traded away about 3 weeks later from the yellow signs outside the radio station with him on the trailer screaming, "Get it off, get it off." It's the truth. I was there, I saw it. So Mantronics has a special link to UK Fresh. What was that? It was July 1986, UK Fresh. 2 shows of more than 7,500 people at each. For fans of Fax, the sound system was the same as used by Eddie Van Halen, 40,000 watts. The lighting rig was hot enough to burn your skin if you stood still beneath it for more than a minute, and it had taken 2 days to rig the systems up. The mixing consoles for the DJs were built on separate scaffolds, vibration-free so they didn't skip. And when the first show of the evening opened, the roar from the audience was deafening, let alone 40,000 watts. The list of artists attending numbered 82 Americans and about 20 Brits. These guys were dancing. In a break in the show, he read out a telegram from LL Cool J and Run DMC apologising for being unable to attend. They were appearing at Madison Square Gardens in New York that night, and it has been suggested this is an urban myth. It isn't. They even investigated getting Concorde to fly them, but the people at Madison Square Garden weren't so keen on the idea. There wasn't enough room for a soft edge. Meanwhile, at Wembley, the Graydon celebrity were arriving. Who invited Mick Jagger? I don't know, but he turned up, as did the late John Peel. He was so impressed that DJ Cheese, he queued up with a long line of fans just to get Cheese' autograph.
Down by law.
MC Shannon, Down by Law. It's the Basement, the One Extra Hip-Hop Weekend. I'm Mike Allen. Good to have your company. We're looking back to the 80s, the bedrock that today's hip-hop was built on. I used to travel to New York regularly to get interviews and collect